Good morning, everyone. So here I am with my next video related to the human reproductive system. As most of you must be aware that the part of asexual reproduction has been omitted by the board for the current academic year. So the chapter actually begins from the human reproductive system. Now, in the first part of this lecture, I'm going to discuss about the parts of the human male reproductive system. So as far as the male reproductive system is concerned, it consists of the accessory glands and the primary sex organs. Now, the primary sex organs in both males and females are commonly called as the gonads. So in case of males, the gonads are testes, whereas in case of females, it's the ovaries. So here, since we are just focusing on the male reproductive system, we just stick to the male reproductive parts. So I come back again, the male gonads are called as the testes. Now, the accessory glands, there are three sets of accessory glands in males: a pair of seminal vesicles, a single prostate gland, and a pair of bulbourethral or Cowper's gland. I repeat, a pair of seminal vesicles, a single prostate gland, and a pair of Cowper's or bulbourethral glands. Then there are certain ducts that help in the transfer of sperms. So these ducts include the epididymis, then you have the vas deferens, the urethra. In fact, surprisingly, in males, the urethra serves as a common passage for sperms as well as, that is, semen as well as urine. I repeat, the urethra serves as a common passage for semen as well as urine, and that is why it is also called as the urogenital duct. Now, let us focus on the testes first, which is the primary sex organ in males. So the spelling you have to be very careful. TESTIS is singular, while TES, I'll repeat again. TES is called as plural form, and TESTIS is the singular form. Now, let us have a look at the testes in detail. So as far as the position of the testes is concerned, they lie in the extra-abdominal cavity or outside the abdominal cavity in a pouch of skin that is called as the scrotum. So you can see the scrotum is highlighted on your screen right now, everyone. Now, as far as the scrotum is concerned, it's a pouch of skin which contains the testes. Now, what is the reason that the testes do not lie within the abdominal cavity, and in fact, it is contained inside the scrotum? So testes, as we know, are the primary sex organs. So as a primary sex organ, its function is gametogenesis or formation of gametes. And for spermatogenesis, that is for the production of sperms, the temperature required is 2 to 3 degrees Celsius lower than the normal body temperature. And therefore, the testes lie outside the abdominal cavity in a pouch of skin that is called as the scrotum. In fact, the origin of the testes is abdominal. They develop within the abdominal cavity in the fetal life. But just prior to birth, the testes, along with all the cords, that is the spermatic cord, then you have the vas deferens, the nerves, the blood vessels, descends down permanently into the respective scrotal sacs. So the scrotum is divided into two sacs. Okay. So the left and the right, containing one testes each. So the testes will descend down just prior to birth permanently into the scrotal sac. And that is what their final position is. That is outside the abdominal cavity within a pouch of skin called as the scrotum. So the reason that they lie within the scrotum is to have a favorable temperature for spermatogenesis. So within the scrotum, the temperature is 2 to 3 degrees Celsius less than the normal body temperature, which is very favorable for spermatogenesis. Now, scrotum has a very strange way of regulating the temperature. Whenever the body is heated up, okay, like for example, if you're doing some kind of a strenuous exercise, the body may tend to get overheated. So in such a situation, the skin of the scrotum will loosen and it will draw the testes away from the body. I repeat, the skin of the testes loosens when there is excessive heating or the body is too heated. Then the skin of the scrotum loosens and draws or retracts the testes away from the body. And if it is too cold outside, then the skin of the scrotum will fold in a contracted way. It will fold up and draw the testes closer to the body for warmth. So the scrotum kind of acts like a thermoregulator for the testes. Now let us have a look at the internal regions of the testes. One by one, I'll just remove the layers of the scrotal sac first. This in detail is not required at your levels, so you need not worry much about the different layers that I'll be removing. So there'll be a lot of muscles and connective tissue fibers inside. Yeah. So if you can just see this labeling, okay, this is called as tunica vaginalis, which is actually the proof of the abdominal origin of the testes. Because tunica vaginalis is basically a part of the peritoneal covering. This you learn in higher grade. So the presence of tunica vaginalis around the testes is evidence that the testes are actually abdominal in origin. Now you can see a testicle here, as they are popularly called. So you can see the shape, they're somewhat oval in shape. Now, as far as the testes are concerned, each testis internally is divided into roughly about 250 lobules. I repeat, each testis internally is divided into roughly about 250 lobules. Now, each lobule within it contains a highly coiled ductule called as the seminiferous tubule. So these are the seminiferous tubules. I just zoomed into it, and you can see the highly coiled structures that are called as the seminiferous tubules. Now, as far as these seminiferous tubules are concerned, they are the ones which are the primary site where spermatogenesis takes place. So the main function of the seminiferous tubules is to initiate the process of spermatogenesis. Now, the spaces between the seminiferous tubules are lined by Leydig cells or interstitial cells. I repeat, the space in between the seminiferous tubules are lined by the Leydig cells or the interstitial cells, which are the hormone producing cells. They produce a hormone called testosterone that is responsible for regulating the secondary sexual characteristics in males. I repeat, the hormone testosterone is responsible for regulating the secondary sexual characters of males. So this hormone is produced by the Leydig cells or the interstitial cells, which lie in between the seminiferous tubules. Now, from the seminiferous tubules, as you can see there, you will have small ductules, which will then lead you to a structure that is called as the rete testis. So you can see the network of tubules. So this is in your textbook, in ICSE textbook, this is called as a network of tubes. So this network of tubes is called as the rete testis, from where arises the efferent duct. So you will just see the efferent ducts being highlighted in green in a moment. Yes, so these are the efferent ducts. So there will be about 10 to 15 efferent ducts that will open into a highly coiled and very long duct that is called as the epididymis. Now, epi means above, didymus means testis. So this is a somewhat C-shaped structure. You can see here, roughly about 6 meters long. It is highly coiled, but it is 6 meters long. So you can see here, it starts from the top of the testis, goes on the posterolateral side, and then opens into the vas deferens. So the epididymis will then lead to the vas deferens. I'll just highlight the vas deferens here. Yeah. So you can see here the vas deferens. So this epididymis is actually a very long, narrow, coiled tube, roughly about 6 meters long. So why is it long and why is it so highly coiled? The sperms that are produced by the seminiferous tubules will pass from that network of tubes into the efferent ducts, which open into the epididymis. Now, because of its long and highly coiled nature, the sperms pass through the epididymis very slowly. It is during this time that while they are passing through the epididymis, they attain physiological maturation and they gain motility. They become motile and they also become physiologically mature as they pass through the epididymis. Now this epididymis then opens into the vas deferens, which is also called as the sperm duct. I repeat, the vas deferens is also called as the sperm duct. So here now this long wiry structure that you see here is the sperm duct that moves upwards, passes through the inguinal canal. Now inguinal canal is the same one through which the testes had descended down just prior to birth to enter into the scrotal sac. I repeat, the inguinal canal is the same passage through which the testes had descended into the scrotal sac just prior to birth. So the vas deferens will enter again into the abdominal cavity via the inguinal canal. It will loop over the ureter of its respective side. So you can see here how it is looping over the ureter. So you can see this structure is the ureter, and this structure here is the vas deferens that you see highlighted in green now. So the vas deferens will loop over the ureter and it will be joined by the duct of the seminal vesicle. You can see here. You have the duct of this is a seminal vesicle. So the epididymis and the duct of the seminal vesicle jointly open into the urethra. I'll just hide this portion here to show you that common opening. So this is the common passage basically that is formed by the joining of the sperm duct, that is the vas deferens, and the seminal vesicle, which jointly open into the urethra. So this is the urethra here. You can see the urethra on screen now. So urethra basically receives the sperms from the sperm duct and also the fluid from the seminal vesicles. It receives the sperms from the sperm duct and also the fluid from the seminal vesicles. Now, seminal vesicles are a pair of male accessory glands basically. So as far as the seminal vesicles are concerned, it is a pair of lobulated glands, okay, which lie on the posterior surface of the urinary bladder, okay, and the rectum. It lies between the posterior surface of the urinary bladder and the rectum. Now, one surprising thing about the fluids produced by the seminal vesicle is that it's the only body fluid. I repeat, it is the only body fluid that contains fructose. So presence of fructose in the female genitalia is an evidence that coitus had taken place. So in order to prove coitus for rape cases, the presence of fructose is a very strong evidence for that, because fructose is found nowhere else in the human body except the fluids of the seminal vesicle. Now, so I repeat again, the urethra receives the seminal vesicle, the fluid from the seminal vesicle, and the sperms from the sperm duct or the vas deferens. Now, let us get back to the testes. So I'll just highlight the structures once again before we move on to the next part of the male reproductive system. So we have already seen the seminiferous tubules, which are basically responsible for spermatogenesis. Then you have the network of tubes, that is also called as the rete testis. This network of tubes or the rete testis will receive the sperms from the seminiferous tubules and pass it on to the efferent ducts. The efferent ducts in turn then open into the epididymis. From the epididymis, the sperms will pass into the vas deferens, also called as the sperm duct. The vas deferens moves upwards, enters the abdominal cavity through the inguinal canal, loops over the ureter of its side, and jointly opens along with the duct of the seminal vesicle into the urethra. So the urethra basically receives sperms from the vas deferens and the fluid of the seminal vesicles. Now, very close to the origin from the bladder, I repeat, very close to the origin of the urethra from the bladder is another bilobed gland called as the prostate gland, Now this prostate gland surrounds the urethra close to its origin from the bladder. I repeat, the prostate gland surrounds the urethra close to its origin from the bladder. Now, as far as the prostate gland is concerned, this fluid of the prostate gland is responsible for neutralizing the acidity in the urethra as well as in the vagina, because this fluid produced by the prostate gland is alkaline in nature. So it will neutralize any acidity that may be there within the urethra, or even the environment in the vagina being acidic is neutralized by this secretion. Now it is important to neutralize the acidity because the sperms cannot survive in an acidic environment. And that is why the prostate produces a secretion that is alkaline in nature. All right. Now let us see the next accessory part of the male reproductive system, which is the bulbourethral gland, also called as the Cowper's gland. So here you can see two small bulbous structures. I'll just hide some of the parts. So you can see here now. That's one bulbourethral gland, and on the other side you have the second one. So these are a pair of glands. So a pair of bulbourethral glands basically that opens into the urethra just before it enters the penis. Now, the secretion of these bulbourethral glands acts like a lubricant. So it helps in coitus basically. So it acts like a lubricant. So there are three different types of fluids which pass into the urethra. One is the fluid from the seminal vesicles, which is mainly serving to nourish and provide the energy that is required for the sperms. Second is the fluid from the prostate gland that kind of neutralizes the acidity because it is itself alkaline in nature. And thirdly, you have the fluid from the Cowper's or the bulbourethral gland, which kind of serves as a lubricant. So the mixture of these three fluids and the sperms together is known as semen. I repeat, the mixture of the three fluids from the three different accessory glands and the sperms together is called as semen. So semen is basically nothing but it is a mixture of the three fluids plus the sperms. The number of sperms that are present in about 2 to 3 ml of semen, that's the normal volume of semen that is ejaculated during sexual intercourse. So the number of sperms that are present in about 2 to 3 ml of semen is roughly 200 to 400 million sperms. Yes, it is 200 to 400 million sperms that are present in one ejaculation by a human male during sexual intercourse. Now, coming to the urethra. So this urethra is a very long, narrow duct, roughly about 16 to 20 centimeters long in human male, originating from the urinary bladder, and it opens at the tip of the penis. It passes through the penis, in fact. Now, this urethra serves as a common passage for urine as well as semen, and that is why, as I had earlier mentioned, it is also called as the urogenital duct. I repeat, it is also called as the urogenital duct. Now, coming to the penis. A penis is basically the organ that helps in copulation or in coitus. Now, under sexual stimulation, the penis becomes hard and erect. It is because of the presence of the vascular spaces and the muscles. So there are certain muscles present within the penis which contain a lot of vascular spaces. So this outer layer of muscle is called as corpora cavernosum, or it is also called as corpus cavernosum. And so this is corpus cavernosum of the other side. And there's another tissue that is called as corpus spongiosum that is not seen here on this slide. So these muscles have a lot of spaces within, which are vascular spaces. Vascular spaces means they are blood-filled spaces, or you can also commonly call them as sinusoids. Now, just 1 minute. Yeah. So due to the presence of the vascular spaces, it helps in the erection of the penis, basically. So what you see here, and that is corpora cavernosa, and what you see here in the center is corpus spongiosum. So a pair of corpora corpus cavernosum and a single corpus spongiosum. Now, you can see here, this is the artery that enters into the penis. So this artery brings in blood into these sinusoids or into these spaces. You can see the sinusoids here if I just highlight it. Yeah. So the light red regions that you see in between the dark red patches are the sinusoids. Now these sinusoids will get filled with blood, and under sexual stimulation, the drainage pathway for this blood, that is these veins, get constricted. I repeat, the drainage pathway for the blood, that is these veins, which are now highlighted in violet here, they get constricted. So because the veins get constricted, blood accumulates within these muscle spaces, that is in the sinusoid, causing the muscles to expand, And because these spaces expand, it makes the penis hard and erect under sexual stimulation. Okay. So this was about the human male reproductive system. In my next video, we will be studying about the human female reproductive system. Thank you, everyone. Continue watching and please like the channel. Keep promoting it.